Okay, so I was living in this condo, minding my own business, when something strange happened. One day there was a knock on my door, and when I opened it, there stood this confused young woman. She looked kinda lost, and she asked me if I was the only one living in the condo. It struck me as odd because, it's a condo building and there are lots of people living there. I thought maybe she got the wrong unit or something, so I politely told her that there were others living in the building too. She just nodded, looking all bewildered, and then walked away. I shrugged it off and went on with my day, not thinking too much about it. But later that same day, things took a creepy turn. I was at home just doing my thing when I heard this noise. It sounded like someone moving around in my condo. I got this weird feeling like someone was watching me, and my heart started thumping like crazy. I went to check it out, and that's when I saw them. This stranger, just standing there in my living room. My mind was trying to figure out how they got in. I mean, there were no signs of forced entry, and I always lock my doors. I was scared out of my wits, but I managed to keep my cool. I asked them who they were and what they were doing in my place. But here's the creepy part: they didn't say a word, just stared at me with these empty eyes. It was like they were in a trance or something. I knew I had to act fast, so I dialed 911, my fingers trembling as I held the phone. The operator told me to stay on the line and stay calm. But let me tell you, it's hard to stay calm when there's a stranger in your home. I kept my distance, not knowing what this person was capable of. The minutes felt like hours, and the police couldn't get there fast enough. I mean, every second felt like an eternity, and I was terrified. Finally, the police arrived, and I led them to where the intruder was. But when we got there, they were gone, like they had vanished into thin air. The police searched the entire condo building, but there was no sign of this person anywhere. They checked the security cameras, but there was nothing. It was like this intruder just disappeared without a trace. The police said they'd keep an eye out and asked me to call if anything like this happened again. But folks, let me tell you, I couldn't sleep for nights after that. The thought of someone breaking into my home and just standing there watching me gave me nightmares. To this day, I wonder who that person was and what they wanted. It's like a haunting mystery that will never be solved. I had to take extra precautions to ensure my safety, like installing more locks and a security system. You see, I had this old house that was kind of isolated from the rest of the town. It was a cozy place, sure, but it also had this eerie vibe to it. Still, I loved the peace and quiet, so I didn't mind being all by myself. One day, while I was just minding my own business at home, I happened to glance out the window, and that's when I saw them. This person walking on my property, heading towards the woods behind my house. At first, I thought maybe they were just lost or something, but there was something strange about it that gave me this uneasy feeling, Later that same night, I was all tucked in bed trying to get some shut-eye when I heard these footsteps outside my house. It was like someone was walking around and my heart started racing. I thought maybe it was just an animal or something, but then I saw them, the same person I saw earlier walking past my yard. My mind was racing with all these thoughts like, who is this person? What are they doing here? I mean, I was all alone out there and it felt like someone was watching me. The next few nights, the footsteps continued and I couldn't sleep. It was like I was living in a nightmare and I couldn't escape. I felt like I was being haunted or something. It was like this person was taunting me, lurking around my property in the darkness. One night, as I was lying in bed, I couldn't shake off this feeling that something was off. I got up and looked out the window, and that's when I saw them again, standing in my driveway, just staring at my house. My heart jumped to my throat, and I knew I had to do something about it. I mustered up all my courage and called the police, my hands shaking as I dialed the number. I told them about the person creeping around my property and how scared I was. They said they'd send someone over, but it felt like ages before they arrived. I mean, every second felt like an eternity, and I was terrified. Finally, the police showed up, and I led them to where I had seen the person. But when we got there, they were gone, like they had vanished into thin air. The police said they'd keep an eye out, but they didn't find anyone. It was a long and sleepless night for me, and I was on edge for days after that. I couldn't shake off the feeling that someone was watching me, lurking in the shadows. I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe it was just some prankster messing with me. But deep down, I knew there was something more sinister at play. From that day on, I couldn't stay in that house anymore. The feeling of being watched and haunted was just too much to bear. I moved out and never looked back. To this day, I wonder who that person was and what their intentions were. It's like a chilling mystery that will never be solved. I work long hours, so when I finally got home one night, I was exhausted. All I wanted was a nice hot shower to wash away the stress of the day. But as I was standing there in the bathroom, I heard these strange movements outside. It was like someone was tiptoeing around, trying not to make a sound. I figured it must have been my imagination playing tricks on me. After all, I was tired and my mind was probably playing all sorts of tricks. So I brushed it off and tried to relax. But throughout the night, I kept hearing odd noises, creaking sounds like footsteps on the floorboards, and faint whispers that sent shivers down my spine. I searched the house, but there was nothing. It was like those noises were coming from thin air. The next night, it happened again. I heard those same strange sounds, and this time, I saw something that made my blood run cold. There was a shadowy figure outside my bedroom door, just standing there watching me. I couldn't believe my eyes and I was too scared to move. I rubbed my eyes thinking maybe I was seeing things, but the figure was still there, staring at me with these eerie, glowing eyes. I mustered up the courage to shout, "Who's there? What do you want?" But the figure didn't say a word. It just disappeared into the darkness. I was terrified, but I tried to convince myself it was all in my head. Maybe it was just a dream or a trick of the light. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep, but the images of those unsettling eyes kept haunting me. The next day, I couldn't shake off the feeling of dread. I went about my day, but my mind was on high alert. As night fell, I decided to stay up and keep watch. And then, it happened again. Those strange sounds, the creaking and the footsteps. I turned on all the lights, searching every nook and cranny, but there was no one to be found. But as I walked back to my room, I saw him. A man standing right in front of me. His eyes were so unsettling, like they were piercing through my soul. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. I was paralyzed with fear. He looked at me with this twisted grin and said, "You shouldn't have come looking for me." And just like that, he vanished into thin air. I called the police right away, my voice trembling as I told them what happened. They came and searched the entire house, but there was no sign of the intruder. They found signs of forced entry like a broken window, but they couldn't find any fingerprints or any clues to the identity of the man with the unsettling eyes. I couldn't sleep after that, y'all. Every night I would hear those strange sounds, and I felt like I was being watched. It was like this man was haunting me, and I couldn't escape. To this day, I don't know who he was or what he wanted, and that terrifies me more than anything.